I don't think so. I think the United States has multiple interests and multiple partners that vastly exceed what Russia can do in the Middle East. That said, I think we are in a period of resurgence of Russian power in the world generally, and most certainly in the Middle East. I think it's primarily about regimes and regime type, and the fact that President Putin believes that he needs to support his allies, first and foremost Mr. Assad, against the turmoil and the terrorism that comes with the collapse of regimes. So that's why they intervene there. And I think you'll see more and more attempts by the Kremlin to be a player in the Middle East, but they won't replace the United States. Yes, it's very complicated. That's a very hard question. I think one that needs to remember that in my view, and I've actually sat with Putin and talked to him about it, or listened to him talk to President Obama, I think is a better way to put it. Um, the principal reason why he intervened was to stop regime change, to support the existing regime, to support the existing leader. And all the other reasons, ports and various things, I think are really secondary and tertiary to that fact. That is a different set of objectives than some of his allies in Syria have, most certainly Iran. And as a result of that, there's tension in terms of what are their long-term strategic objectives that they want to see in Syria. And my prediction is that tension will grow, especially after the defeat of ISIS. How they manage that is very difficult. And at the same time, you rightly mentioned that Russia has a very concerted effort to improve relations with both Israel and Saudi Arabia, and that comes at tension with their relationship with Iran. Putin's going to try to have his cake and eat it too, and he thinks he can do all those things at the same time. But over time, I think there's going to be more and more tension between those relationships. And I wouldn't be surprised in the long run if 20 years from now that you see a much closer relationship between Russia and Israel, for instance, than you have today between Russia and Iran. It's hard to know because we don't have a lot of good data to measure that because the media is controlled by the government. The flow of information about the war is very constrained. I would say anecdotally, especially on social media, that you see evidence that people are worried about casualties. They're wondering why Russia's there. Why do they care about this guy Assad? How does that affect their material interests? But it hasn't coalesced in a political way because nothing can coalesce in a political way in Russia, or at least it's very difficult to do. But if it continues, and if there are more casualties, which I predict if Russia is there, I think it's going to be a greater issue domestically for Mr. Putin.